¿Se acuerda usted del doctor Quincy, que era el médico forense, no?
Sí,
Domingos 6 de la tarde, ¿no?
Sí,
Enrique Riveras Televisión.
Sí.
Bueno, permítame saludar al forense de forenses. Es el doctor Michael Baden. 45 años como médico forense. Jefe de forenses de Nueva York en el 78. Ha estado en la policía toda su vida. Presidió el panel de patología forense del Congreso de los Estados Unidos. Nuestro invitado, para que usted sepa, Félix, examinó la muerte de John Kennedy y de Martin Luther King. Ese es nuestro invitado. ¿Y por qué? Porque resulta que hay dudas sobre el supuesto suicidio del protagonista de la noticia de esta y de todas las semanas que vienen, Jeffrey Epstein. Natasha, qué placer tenerla con nosotros nuevamente. Y por favor, saluda al doctor Michael y pregúntele por qué él duda, con su experticia, por qué él duda del suicidio.
Dr. Baden, thank you so much for joining us this morning to help us better understand this case. Where do your doubts come from about the supposed suicide? Why do you think otherwise?
Because when the autopsy was done, it found certain damage to his neck that is not caused by hanging, where the ligature is underneath the chin, the jawbone, but the injuries were caused to the windpipe, the breathing tube. The Adam's apple in the neck was crushed, and there were 3 fractures in the neck of the breathing tube that doesn't occur during hanging, but does occur when the neck is tightly squeezed by hands or by a ligature.
Cuando se hizo la autopsia, él dice que en el daño que se puede percibir en el cuello no es causado o no son, digamos, relacionadas tanto con cuando alguien se cuelga. Nos dice que las lesiones que él pudo percibir que se causaron en el cuello fueron generadas más bien en el tubo por donde una persona respira, en la manzana de Adán, y eso ocurre cuando se aprieta el cuello con la mano, no cuando una persona se trata de suicidar colgándose del cuello.
Quisiera preguntarle a nuestro invitado qué piensa del manejo que Pam Bondi le ha dado a la situación de los archivos Epstein.
And what are your opinions on the way Pam Bondi has handled the Epstein files?
I think that she gave that misinformation at the very beginning, that she had certain documents on her desk listing the names of people that were involved with Mr. Epstein. And it turned out from the very beginning that wasn't true. So she may have been a good attorney in Florida, but she hasn't been a good attorney in Washington D.C. for the whole United States.
Pues nos dice que ella dio esa información errada desde el comienzo, que ella tenía documentos en su escritorio con la lista de nombres que estaban involucrados o relacionados con el señor Epstein, y resultó que eso no era verdad desde el principio. Nos dice que pudo haber sido un buen abogado en la Florida, pero no en D.C., en Distrito Capital y para todos los Estados Unidos.
Natasha, cuando el hermano de Jeffrey Epstein se comunica con él, ¿le expresa desde el principio que tiene temor de que se haga mal esta evaluación?
And when Jeffrey Epstein's brother first got in contact with you, was he already worried about the way this whole evaluation and autopsy was going?
No, he was concerned that there might be a bias in the government autopsy, and he just wanted to be sure that the right cause of death was determined. So he wanted to feel secure that there was a right decision, whether it was homicide or suicide. But he did not think it was a homicide right away. He just wanted a correct diagnosis.
Al hermano le preocupaba que la autopsia del gobierno fuera parcializada. Él quería estar seguro de que la causa de la muerte se determinara de forma correcta. Entonces, por eso, pues lo que buscaba, sin estar seguro que era un homicidio desde el comienzo, simplemente era que se determinara a ciencia cierta y se tomara la decisión correcta de si había sido un homicidio o un suicidio.
Natasha, quisiera preguntarle a nuestro invitado si él cree que el presidente Donald Trump tiene o no responsabilidad en este caso.
And what about Donald Trump? Would you say that he does or doesn't have responsibility in this case?
Well, I that's beyond my expertise. My opinion is that the autopsy showed things that are more common, that are common in strangulation. When people are strangled with hands or with ligature across the middle of the neck, not high up under the chin in hanging. And the medical examiner, the forensic pathologist, is expert on why people die, not on who done it. That's a detective job. So I have no idea of who may have done it. I don't know anything about the president's involvement or not. What I know as a forensic pathologist is that the autopsy findings are typical for homicide, strangulation, and are very unusual in suicidal hanging.
Dr. Baden, as a forensic pathology expertise, as you, I understand that you have been having experience with doctors in our country, in Colombia?
Yes. I had been down there many years ago at the main forensic center in Colombia, and that there were excellent forensic pathologists there who did an awful lot of work. I remember Dr. Rivera, a female who was super in doing autopsies on people who died violently of gunshot wounds. And I spent a few days in the morgue.
Are you still having your show on HBO?
Not actively. There's a lot of repeated episodes, but I am not. The show is not continuing. The old HBO autopsy series is repeated. But it doesn't appear with new shows now.
Doctor, in your career, which case has been the most amazing to you as a professional experience?
Well, the most amazing one, and that affected me most deeply, was the re-examination for Congress, for the United States Congress, of the death of President Kennedy. And the reason for it is that he was the wonderful president of the United States who was appreciated by so many people, and he died in such a terrible manner. And my concern was, in reviewing the autopsy and all, that it was very badly done, that the autopsy of the president was not done properly because the people doing the autopsy were very good pathologists, but were not forensic pathologists. They made mistakes in the bullet entrance, the bullet exits, and so that even today, even today, the autopsy was done so poorly that half the United States people think that there was a cover-up, that there was a conspiracy, which didn't happen from the real findings, because the initial autopsy findings were incorrect. And that's one of the reasons that I had written the book Autopsy, American Autopsy, is because there's a lot of mistakes that are made when people die from homicide and from homicidal means.
But, Doctor, at the end, in the case of President Kennedy, was just one bullet, or were two bullets from different rifles?
Yes. The initial autopsy findings by the doctors who had not ever been trained in doing autopsy from gunshot wounds indicated that there were bullets from the front and the back. And that's because when we reviewed it years later for Congress, there was both bullets went from back to front, and the doctors who did the autopsy confused entrance wounds and exit wounds. So they thought that both bullets came from the front and one bullet from the back, when both bullets came from the same spot where Lee Harvey Oswald shot from, in the back, and that has led to conspiracy theories, because people think that there were two shooters, one shooting in the front and one shooting in the back, when in fact he was shot only twice from behind from one person. But that, I think, was made because the people doing the autopsy, even though it was the President of the United States, were not qualified to do that autopsy. The forensic autopsies, and you have some wonderful ones in Colombia, are different than the hospital autopsies. The hospital autopsies, the pathologists are excellent at cancer, Alzheimer's disease, natural diseases. But when it comes to trauma from bullet wounds, from other causes, the forensic pathologist has the expert training to do those examinations.
Dr. Baden, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations for your very interesting career as an expert on forensic pathology.
Well,
thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to me.
Yes, thank you very much. Fascinante la historia del doctor Michael Baden. Hay un libro sobre el caso Kennedy, y hay un programa de televisión que lamentablemente nos acaba de contar, ya está en repetición, que es en HBO, que se llama Autopsias. Pero el caso de Kennedy, fascinante. Y lo que nos ha contado del señor Epstein. Primero que todo, Natasha, gracias por esta deliciosa British translation. Thank you very much, Natasha.
Bueno, sobre la pregunta de Juan Esteban de la relación del presidente Donald Trump con todo esto que pasó con Jeffrey Epstein, dice que eso va más allá de su experiencia. Nos dice que su opinión se basa en la autopsia. Nos dice que lo que él puede ver de la autopsia es que esa muerte no se ocasiona por una persona que se suicida colgándose, sino más bien es por estrangulamiento. Nos dice que él es un médico forense experto en por qué la gente muere y no quién lo hizo. Eso le corresponde mucho más a un detective, así que no sabe quién lo hizo, no sabe si el presidente estaba involucrado o no. Nos dice que él es un médico forense que estudia estos casos típicos de homicidio, y pues para él fue esto, un homicidio y no un estrangulamiento, que pues es lo que se había dicho al principio, es que se había colgado. Para él fue un homicidio por estrangulamiento. Sobre su presencia en Colombia, dice que hace muchos años ha estado en el país, en un centro forense acá en Colombia. Nos dice que tenemos médicos forenses excelentes que se especializan pues en estas muertes violentas por arma de fuego. ha pasado pues algunos días en el país, y menciona a la doctora Rivera, que es una mujer muy experta y muy buena haciendo este tipo de autopsias. Sobre el show de HBO que usted nos comentaba, Julio, no está activo, están repitiendo los episodios. Y pues nos dice que el caso que más le afectó, que era su pregunta final, fue esa reexaminación ante el Congreso de la muerte del presidente Kennedy. La razón es que pues era un presidente muy querido en los Estados Unidos, mucha gente lo apreciaba y murió de una manera terrible, y él tenía que expresar esa preocupación por la autopsia que se le hizo, que salió bastante mal. No se le hizo de la manera apropiada porque no había los profesionales para hacerla de una manera adecuada. Nos dice que no pudieron identificar bien qué heridas eran de entrada y cuáles eran la salida de las balas, y eso llevó a que se crearan muchas teorías conspirativas sobre su muerte que aún persisten. Entonces nos dice que al final la conclusión a la que él llega es que las heridas de bala entraron todas por detrás, no como habían dicho al comienzo, que había entrado una por delante y una por detrás, sino de la misma persona detrás, y pues esa confusión se generó por una mala autopsia que se hizo al comienzo de unas personas que no estaban cualificadas, incluso haciéndosela al presidente de los Estados Unidos.